Hey folks, welcome back. I'm just about to go ahead and create the C++ class for this vehicle that I created. So um, if we take a look at the code that was generated when I opened the project, the file we need to look at here is cobra.build.cs. And what I have done is added this chaos vehicles module into this build file because obviously it's not included by default. So any modules that you want to add code from need to be in here, and chaos vehicles was not, so I added it in. However, for some, and this happens a lot, but for some reason, even though I've added it and rebuilt and everything's set up correctly, if I come in and do add Unreal class and look in all classes and look for wheeled vehicle pawn, it's not there. Um, for some reason that happens a lot, and when it does, all I have to do is instead I'll just add the class from the Unreal editor. So I'll just do tools, new C++ class. If I look in here, it shows up. So I'm gonna choose that, click next, and I'm gonna, if you choose private here, it'll put all of your C++ and header files in the same folder. And I usually do that, but I think this time I'm going to do public just to keep them separated out into separate files, and you'll see what that looks like in a minute. So I'm going to call this Cobra Vehicle, and I'm going to put it in a Vehicles folder. And you can see, since I chose public here, it's going to put the header file in a public folder and the C++ file in a private. If you choose private, it'll put both of them in a private folder. I don't really have a big opinion on how to do that. I'll do public this time just to keep them separate. I usually do private, but sometimes I get so many classes that it's kind of helpful, I guess, to keep them in separate folders. So I'll do that, and I'll click Create Class. And usually after I do this from the editor the first time, it'll start to work correctly in the IDE, so I don't have to do it from the editor. It's going to open it, reopen it. And I'm going to pause and give that a few minutes to finish. Okay, so it finished creating those files. So now in my code, if I come in and look, you can see that header and that C++ file. Now, the wheeled vehicle pawn, it includes the skeletal mesh and the vehicle movement component all on it already. So all I actually need is to add a camera, and I intend to put the camera in the cockpit, but for now I'm going to create a spring arm and a camera that is like a chase camera, so I can sort of move it around, and I can see the wheels moving and make sure everything is correct. So give me just 1 second here. Okay, so it's been a while since I've written some Unreal Engine code. I need to I've got an old project open on another window, so I can kind of remind myself how this all works. So before I create any more, before I put any code here, actually, I think what I want to do is go ahead and add another couple of classes. Oh, and it looks like Writer's giving me trouble. So actually, I'll just skip that for now. So I'll start adding some stuff to here. I know I'm going to add t object pointer, and we're going to do, I think if I remember correctly, use spring arm component. We'll call it chase camera boom. And I'm going to make a U property here so it's accessible in the blueprint that I make. And we'll give it a category. I'll just put them all in this vehicle category. So we got a camera boom. I need to forward declare any of these classes that I add here, or I could forward declare them, or I could include them, but I'm going to do a forward declare. And Rider just does it for me, so I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm gonna just make this quick. I'll copy this whole line, these two lines, and this will be chase camera, and it'll be type U camera component. So that's gonna be my boom and my camera. And I think that's all I'll include for now. So, well, actually, I need input. I guess I should go ahead and add the input, context, and the actions. So, let's do. I don't know why this has got a red underline on it. Oh, shouldn't be used on private members, right? I need to. There we go. There we go. Now the blueprint will be able to access it even though it's a private variable. I like to keep my variables private if I can. So I need an input mapping context and all of the actions that I'm going to need. So let's go ahead and forward declare this. Oops. Just copy this whole line and we'll do input mapping context, and I'll just call this input context. And I need to forward declare this. You can see that for some reason Rider can't find that class. So I had to forward declare it by hand. If you take a look at the build file again, and I added chaos vehicles, notice that enhanced input is already here. I'm using the preview version of 5.7, and I don't remember what version this got added in as default, but if you're using an older version of, of Unreal, you might need to add this in before you can use enhanced input. So just keep that in mind. And then in addition to the context, I'm going to need actions. We're going to need a throttle action. And we'll call this throttle. And we'll forward declare that. Okay. So throttle action, we're gonna have a brake action, steering action. There'll be other actions, but I think for now, like if we do headlights, we'll have some sort of headlight action. I don't know if there's probably not a handbrake in one of these cars, but there'd probably be a shifting action and other things. But for now, let's just throttle, brake, and steering is probably good enough. So now in the C++ file, interesting that it didn't generate any of my default methods for me. So I'll create a constructor here. And let's see. We'll say that this can tick because I know I'm gonna use it at some point. I'm gonna go ahead and force the replicates property to true, even though I'm not planning on doing multiplayer right away, but at least it'll be there. So then I need to initialize those variables that I created back here. Right now they're all just defaulted to null pointer. Right, so I need to initialize, I think, these two first. Do the camera boom. Create default sub-object, use spring arm component. And this is where you need the header file. Since I forward declared in the H file, we need to make sure this is going to have to include the header file. And you see when I hit tab on that, it automatically added for me because I'm using Writer. But if that doesn't automatically add, you would have to do it. And we'll call this chase camera boom. And we'll attach it to, I don't want to attach to the root component, I want to attach to the skeletal mesh. What is it going to be called? Get mesh. There we go. Okay. So camera boom is created. Now the camera. And again, it added the header file for me. And I want to attach this to the camera boom, like so. Now we're going to want a begin play method. And I need to declare that actually in the header file. So, actually I wonder if it'll add it for me. Yes. Excellent, although I think that might need to be protected. Yeah, I think I'm fairly certain. And it should have. There we go. So in the begin play method, I need to initialize the the input mapping context, and I'm just gonna straight up copy this code as I always do. I just have this code in like every project, so let me see what header file. So writer can't figure that one out. There we go. Actually, I don't need the component yet. I probably will here in a minute, but I'll remove it for now. So that code right there initializes the mapping context. So there's a few other things that we need to do. We need to, I'll go ahead and make a tick, even though I don't think I'm going to put anything in it yet, but I know that I will eventually, so I'll go ahead and create it. So there we go, and generate the definition. There we go, and that's all I need for now because I don't plan on putting anything in it yet. I'm also gonna need a setup, the setting up of the input. So God almighty. Actually, let's just keep it. Read the declaration. That's not right. Let me look at one of my other projects here and I need to forward declare this. Oh. Set up player input component and set up, whoops. I cannot type for some reason today. Okay, set up player input component. I always forget to call the base class here. Okay. Okay, I'm going to copy this big if statement out of my previous project. Let's just make sure we have an enhanced input component. Now I need that class. Should have just left it, I guess. Or header file. Okay, there we go. So if I have a valid enhanced input component, I'm going to bind some actions, and I need to go ahead and create methods that I'm going to call for each action. So and what I'm going to do here is void let's say throttle cannot remember I think that's the right. I think that's the right declaration for that. I don't recall offhand. Actually, we're going to do a triggered and a completed. Yeah. And we'll do the same thing for the brakes. And same thing for the steering. I don't like where I put that. Let me just take a quick look and make sure I'm doing this correctly, that I use the correct class name. Yeah, okay. We'll go and create all of those. I'm not going to bother to put any code in them just yet. Now I need to bind the actions to the methods that I created to handle them. So we'll do bind action, and we're going to do throttle action, triggered, and this, and right here is where we're gonna put the actual method that we're throttle. And what does it not like? No viable function. F input action value. Let's take a look here. I'm looking at my other. Oh, I know. This needs to be const. There we go. So we've got triggered, we need completed. Oof. No, it doesn't like that. Throttle action. Oh, I'm a fool. I don't know why. I don't know why I put that there. That's not what I want. I want the action there, the method here. this needs to be completed both here and here. So I just need the same two methods for braking and steering. So braking, and steering. Okay. And then what we're going to do is all of these are going to be float values that get passed in because I'm going to use an axis when I set up the input action. So these are going to be float values. So I need to first I'm going to have to cast the value that comes in into the proper type, and then pass it into the vehicle movement component. So I'm going to do there we go. Doesn't like the, I think the lowercase there, or no. I think the standard in Unreal Engine is to use capital letters, which I really hate, but I try to stick to it. So get vehicle movement. This gets the vehicle movement component that's on the base class. Or not. Component. There we go. Get vehicle movement component. Well, it's still not showing me. That's really annoying. My I believe the method I need is called set throttle input. Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't included the header file. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, so set throttle input is what I need. So I'm going to do the same thing. Actually, on completed, I'm going to do set it to 0. And then we're going to do this exact same thing for the brakes. Oh. Completed, we're going to do again, set it to 0. And we'll do the exact same thing again for steering. So that should be all of my inputs. And I think for now that is actually all I need. The rest of the work, at least initially, is just going to be setting up the vehicle movement component correctly in the blueprint. So I'm going to go ahead, hit Control Alt F11 to kick off live coding. And I'll pause while that runs. Okay, I've got a few little problems to fix. One is I didn't declare my constructor. That should take care of that. There's a few other errors, but I think they might be just complaining about the same thing. So let me go ahead and live code this again and see what happens. Yeah, it was just that one missing constructor. Everything built properly now, so I'm going to open up the editor here, and in my XJR9 folder, I'm going to do a new blueprint class and inherit from Cobra vehicle. And we'll call this BP underscore Cobra underscore vehicle Jaguar XJR9. I'm going to open this up and we'll see how far I get with this. It can take quite some time to properly set up a vehicle. And when I get to it, actually, one of the things we're going to need is a wheel blueprint. I'm going to go ahead for now and create a Chaos Vehicle, 2 Chaos Vehicle wheel blueprints, one for the front. Whoops. That should be Cobra vehicle wheel underscore front, and we'll copy that, or we'll just duplicate it. And do a rear. Okay, so I could have created a class in C++ and inherited from Chaos Vehicle Wheel and then created these blueprints from that class. I did not do that yet because I don't want to deal with that at this time, but in the future I'm guessing that I would do that. I would go and create my own vehicle wheel class, and then I would just open this up and reparent to my class. And the reason I will probably do that eventually is because I'm assuming that I know, from what I understand at least, I have not done a ton of work with this Chaos Vehicle stuff yet, but I'm assuming they're fairly arcadey and they don't have things like tire wear isn't included. So if I want to include tire wear, I'm going to have to write my own code to do it. And I always prefer to write code in C++. That's the main reason I use C++ is I can read this much better than I can read a blueprint. I just think this is, to me, since I'm a developer, right? This is just much easier for me to read, and so that's why I do C++. Now, I'm sure the performance is better in C++, but I'm not sure that I'll be doing anything that will really matter that much as far as performance goes, but we'll see. But the main reason I do it, like I said, I just like I feel like this is a lot more readable to me than blueprint code. So anyway, at some point I will create probably a Cobra vehicle wheel class and reparent these blueprints to it. But for now, I'm just going to keep these as they are. And one thing I'm going to do real quick is, since I measured, I went in and measured, I don't think I recorded it, the size of the wheel in the viewport, and it came out to 60 centimeters. I did not measure the width. I guess I'll have to do that here in a second. But let me go ahead and set both of these to 60 radius. Actually, this is radius, so it would actually be 30. Oops. Okay, so those are both set. And I'll go ahead and set a couple other properties on these two. Am I looking? This is my front wheel, so affected by brake, yes. Affected by engine, no. ABS enabled. I'm not going to enable that for now. These are going to steer. I'm going to set this down to 20 max steering angle. Whoops. And I'm not going to bother. I'll leave the rest of this as default for now. The spring rate really probably needs to be much higher, but I'll just leave that for the moment. So this one's going to be affected by brake, yes. Affected by engine, yes. And I am going to turn traction control on until I know everything's working properly. And this one, whoops, this one will be 20 degrees as well. And we'll save that. Okay, so now in my vehicle blueprint, let me save the map. In my vehicle blueprint, we'll load in the mesh. And right here, we're going to choose the, what did I call it? There it is right there. And we're going to fix this boom. We'll raise it up right about there. Make it a little bit, actually, let me rotate it. Boom, rotate. Let's rotate it to right. Let's put it right there, just so I can see the wheels. Maybe I'll go write some code eventually to make it so I can rotate it with the mouse, but for now, just this will be fine. Camera, I don't need to modify the vehicle, actually. Vehicle movement component. So wheel setup, we need 4 wheels. And we need to get the bone name for each bone. And I'm gonna open the skeleton just to make sure I get the right names. And you can right click, copy bone name. So I'm gonna do the left front, and we're gonna choose my front wheel that I created. Left rear. And we'll grab the rear wheel here. Right front. And right rear. Whoops. Okay, so wheels are set up. Now we need a torque curve for the engine. So I'm going to open this up, create external curve, and we're going to call it BP underscore torque. And I'm not going to worry about being super accurate at the moment with this. Let me scroll out to, let's see, about 200 on the torque. And we'll just do, let's see, 0. So we'll do we'll add some keys here. Add one at 0. This is a crazy torque curve because I don't have the y-axis. I don't have the y-axis set properly, but whatever I'll do for now. I'll go and get these numbers from somewhere on the web at some point. So now we have a torque curve. I'm not going to mess with the steering curve for the moment. Reverses brake. I'll go ahead and I'll leave that for the moment. Let's see, chassis width and height. Let's throw this in real quick. And measure the height. It's at about 100 and call it 101. And we need the width. So we got 197, I'll call it. I'm guessing, I think I read the mass was about 880 for this guy, 880 kilograms. We'll worry about the coefficients later and the aerofoils. I'm curious about how well this aerofoil setup works. We've got obviously the big wing on the back, and there's not exactly a splitter, but I'm sure this nose is basically acting like an aerofoil, so I'll have to set that up at some point, but I'm not going to worry about that for the moment. So I'll go ahead and save that. And what I'm going to need, actually let me go ahead and measure the width of this tire. I guess this is the tire. A little bit hard to tell, but it looks like about 29. Whoops. Okay, save that. Now what I should probably do is set up my animation blueprint. Grab the proper skeleton. I'm going to set this right now to vehicle anim instance, or vehicle animation instance. I will probably also create a class to override this at some point and reparent this, but for now, vehicle animation instance will work fine. Okay, so we open this animation blueprint. The thing that we want is the wheel controller for wheeled vehicle. And I'm gonna have to add some animation to this because I have those brake calipers. If you remember when I rigged the model, the brake calipers need to be animated as well. So I'm gonna have to add more animation to this, but for now, I won't worry about the brake calipers. So I think that's all I need for the moment. It's just that wheel controller. And if we come back to the blueprint, and under animation, we're gonna do use animation blueprint, and we're gonna do my animation blueprint that I just made. And I feel like I'm missing something, but I'm gonna go ahead. You know what, actually, there's a couple of classes that I like to create before I go any further. I'm going to override game mode with just a base class, and I'll probably have more than one of these at some point, but for now we'll just go with the one. And we'll do public, and I'm going to put it in core is what I'll name the folder. And I'm not going to bother to do anything to this yet, I just want to have it. And I'm also going to create Cobra player controller. And grab player controller, that'll be public, and I'll put this in a controllers folder. And I'll go ahead and use live coding to compile this. I'll pause while that's running. Okay, so that compiled fine. And I feel like I'm missing something here, but I guess I'll go ahead and try this out. So since I made the game mode, the reason why I did that is, oh, I don't have my inputs. That's what I'm missing. Okay, so if we come in here, I'm going to do a folder and call it core, and we'll do a blueprint, and we'll inherit from the game mode that I just made. So we got a game mode, and we'll create a controllers folder. And this is all just sort of prep for stuff that's going to come later. Obviously I don't have any code in any of these classes for now, but dang it. Okay, so I need to create the input. Let me save everything. Whoops. Wow, that'll work. So I need to create my input. So I'm going to do a input management, or I'll do the actions first. And this is going to be an axis 1D float. And I'm going to duplicate this twice. brake, and this will be steering. So I've got my 3 input actions. Let's do input mapping context. And we'll just call this IMC underscore Cobra underscore vehicle. Open this up. Create one for throttle. W. Create one for brake. S. And create one for steering. And this is going to have 2 key mappings. I'm going to do A and D, and A is going to have a modifier on it to negate. So when you hit W, it's gonna basically negate all 3 of those values. So A will be negative 0 to 1, and D will be positive 0 to 1. So that looks good. So now, if we open up our blueprint and search for Cobra. There we go. Cobra vehicle. Input context. Throttle action. Whoops. Brake and steering. And we'll save that. Now let's get rid of this pawn and let's do our game mode override here in world settings. We'll choose the game mode that I made, and because we've got our own game mode, we can now override. So the default pawn is going to be the vehicle. Player controller will be my player controller, and that'll be everything for the moment. And now when we start, the vehicle should show up. Oh, one more thing. Let me stop that. Wow, my machine really doesn't like something. Turn off the clouds. Actually, here, just get rid of the clouds altogether for now. In the vehicle blueprint, I need to set simulate physics to true. There we go. And you can see the suspension work. It's obviously way too bouncy for this car. You can see how high, look at the wheel gap. So obviously there's a lot of work to do on those values, but that's not really what I'm worried about at the moment. I want to see if it drives, and it does. It's forward, stop, backwards, steering works. It's not, the completed method is not working correctly. When I take my finger off of the keyboard, it should reset the steering input to 0. And that's not working, so I'll have to figure that out. But it needs to be a little bit more ambient light, and I don't like the motion blur that's going on there. Let me actually see if I can fix that motion blur real quick. Put a post-process volume on there. And let's take a look at the details. I believe there's a setting to make this infinite so that it covers the whole infinite extent. There we go. So click that, it should cover the whole level. And then let's see what they have for motion blur on this thing. 0. See if that makes any difference. Yeah, that's better. That looks pretty good, except for the fact that my steering is not recentering. The throttle and brake are recentering when I let off, but the steering is not. So I'll have to take a look at that. I must have just, maybe I just wrote some bad code somewhere. Wasn't paying attention too much. I'll take a look real quick. If it's not easy to fix, I won't worry about it for now. Let's see where I set up the input. Let's make sure nope, there we go, right there. My copy and paste failed. Let me compile. Okay, it compiled successfully. Let's take a quick look now. And there we go. Now it recenters properly. Excellent. Yeehaw. Okay. I think that's where I'm going to stop for now. So next time, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next time just yet. I know maybe I'll play around with the car settings some more, get a little bit more realistic for this type of car. I'm not sure yet. I need to bring in a track. So there's a couple of things I'm looking at there. As far as bringing in a new track bringing in a track and setting up a grid and pit stalls and all of that jazz. I'll see what I can find out there on Sketchfab and see what I can come up with as far as that goes. And next time I'll either work on the track or maybe on the car a little bit more. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching and see you next time.